Are you scared of doing Facebook ads? Haven't done them for the first time? This is your episode. I'm Deborah Atkinson. You're listening to Fitness Marketing Mastery, where I share marketing and sales strategies that are easy, enjoyable, even fun, so you can build a life and a business that you love in this post-pandemic era. And right now is the opportunity that many of us need to take advantage of. You may have not felt like it's been an opportunity for all of these 18 months as we're recording this one live, but Facebook ads are never most likely going to go out of style. So you're going to want and need to pull up to this one and most likely do it more than once. Revisit this one. Because once you actually get in for the very first time to setting up that ad, and no, dear listener, I'm not talking about boosting something. That's not the same as getting into your Facebook business ads account and setting up an ad for the first time. It may be time. And we're going to give you the example and a walkthrough of actually conducting business face-to-face, whether you do one-on-one or you do small groups or boot camps. So if you're a local business and you're listening, this is for you. However, if you're delivering digital services, online services, and hello, it's 2021, I know you are, this will still be applicable. But what we needed to do is narrow the focus to give you a very specific on target set of things to remember. So if you want the exact formula for creating an ad that will get you results, you're going to tune in and let's get started right now. My guest today is Jono Petrohilos. And yes, dear listener, I practiced that behind the scenes. Jono is an award-winning international speaker, best-selling author, podcast host, and that's how we met, the co-founder and director at Fitness Education Online, and the admin of one of the largest Facebook groups in the world for fitness professionals. That, by the way, is Fitness Education Online Community, and we will put the link in the show notes. Jono is the current Fitness Australia Educator of the Year. So you are among some very astute expertise right here, and a former Exercise New Zealand Educator of the Year finalist. Jono, thanks so much for joining me.
No, thank you, Deborah. What an introduction. It's almost like I wrote it myself, you know?
Something like that. Yes, right. All right. I am so excited to really dive in and unpack. And this is a rarity. It's something I really don't talk about. We've talked a lot about organic and getting your content right so that eventually you can do paid traffic. And so here it is, drum roll. This is the day when you're going to roll out for us some really juicy tips. And it's not like any trainer and any health coach anywhere today is not trying to stand out. Talk to me a little bit about your background with Facebook advertising and how you got started, what your experience has been. And I'm going to probably ask you to look at, as we all know, Facebook changes. So we'll dive into that and unpack what changes you've noticed also. But talk about your background with Facebook ads.
Yes, good question. Well, okay, interesting question. So, my original, when I started to get pretty good in the fitness industry, I was running a boot camp, a face-to-face boot camp, right? And I was able to grow that mainly organically, believe it or not, to start with anyway. No Facebook ads. It was just all, word of mouth, referrals, some organic social media strategies, and it was all well and good. Then I started an online business, Deborah, which is Fitness Education Online. And what I realized there is I'm like, hold on, because that was selling online courses now, that business. And I was like, hold on, the same strategies that I used to build my local business, I can't use online, right? I can't just go and network with people in my local area. I can't, get word of mouth because it's not like, there's just a whole heap of these people that all work together or whatever. So I had to master Facebook ads. And also I would hear people talk about it, Facebook ads, it's the ticket, yada yada yada. Tried to do some stuff on my own, and it just flopped. The stuff I did, I tried to boost a post or something, and the only people that liked it were my friends anyway. So I was like, all right, doing something wrong. And I actually invested in a program which was about $5,000. And that was the most money that I'd ever spent in my life at that time. My car cost me $2,000. This program cost me $5,000, but I knew I wanted to do it. I knew that it was the ticket. But I was super hesitant because I'd heard horror stories as well, and I was like, hey, I'm happy to do it, but only if it's going to work. What happens if we do this and it doesn't work and I don't get any sales? Is there money back guarantees or whatever? And essentially, the expert said, hey, we don't do that. That will keep working with you until you get results. I did it for a month or whatever and got no results, kicked up a bit of a fuss, and they were like, hey, let's just do some little tweaks here. We did some little tweaks to the ad. Then that ad went amazing, right? And then essentially from there, I've used variations of that ad, but much the similar sort of strategies and philosophies to that ad. And I think it's made somewhere, probably about $1 million, I would say, in revenue I've generated pretty much from that one Facebook ad over about, maybe 5 or 6 years now. But that sort of got me to fall in love with Facebook ads, And I was
Love
like,
it.
all right, hold on. If this works for online, what happens if I also run this for my local fitness business as well? Did that, and the results were actually, I'm not going to say it's a bit of a different game, online and face to face, right? But let's just say the when I did it for my local business, I was like, man, I'm never going back to organic strategies again. Like, it's just so much easier and better and cheaper and quicker if to grow your business with Facebook ads. So that's a little bit about the background there. And if I expand on that a little bit, then I was sort of like, all right, you know what? It's different with online because there's so many variables. It depends what your niche is. It depends what you're offering. Like, there's just so many variables. It's hard to sort of systemize that. But in a face-to-face business, I have the perfect system, right? And then I've sort of put it in different courses and whatever. But the thing with a course is not everyone does it. I'm like, hey, here's the perfect formula for a Facebook ad. And I'd give it to people and they just wouldn't do it, for whatever reason. Maybe they didn't have the tech, or they didn't think it was work, or they didn't want to spend more money or whatever. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to put together a service where I actually do it for people. Right. And I was nervous the first time because I'm like, oh, it works in my little business, but, is it going to work in your business in America, or, this person in New Zealand or whatever? Put that together. And this system works all the time, every time that we're going to cover today. No one that's used this system, they get minimum, like absolute worst case scenario is break even with a whole heap of leads. Most people get like a 2, 3, 4, if not 5 return on investment. So I think it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, for sure. And that was my next question. So, to all the listeners out there who are asking this potentially in their heads, at least this is where my mind goes. And especially if I were talking to my ads manager, this is where my mind would go, because he might be focused on this and say, we made $1 million revenue from this ad. I would say, how much did we spend?
Yeah,
How much did
exactly.
you spend in order to get that $1 million revenue from your ad?
Yeah, for me, I don't even keep track of the stats anymore, but I'll give you an indication of my online business now. There's a little bit different to the face to face, but just to give some sort of ideas, right? So I'll spend about $500 per week on a specific ad for a specific course, right? I know with that I'm going to get about $10 leads, give or take. Right, I'm simplifying these numbers here, but I know
Mhm.
I'm going to get about $10 leads, which means that I'm going to get about 50 leads for that course there. Now, I know the close rate off the bat is about 10%, because most people aren't just going to sign up with a stranger from the internet the first time they hear from them. Some people will, but it's only about 10%, right?
Mhm.
But my course costs $500. So if we run with those numbers there, it's like, right, I've put $500 on a Facebook ad. I've got 50 leads. 5 of them have signed up for my $500 program. So I've essentially made $2,500. off a $500 spend. So it's a $2,000 profit. Now I'm simplifying it. It's not always $10 leads and it's not always exactly a
Mhm.
10% close, but it's give or take about that number there. And face to face is give or take the same, even a little. Yeah, let's just run with give or take the same about there.
Got it. Love that. Okay. So, and let me ask you that. So, I think this is a question that listeners listen, if you're not doing Facebook ads yet, and you're thinking, like, oh my gosh, my eyes are rolling back in my head and I'm overwhelmed, we're going to get you through this
Hmm.
little by little. So, you heard Jonah say, I did it for the first time. Everybody does it for the first time. And there are a couple of things I want to unpack that are probably typical mistakes that someone makes when they start to dabble in Facebook ads. And one place I want to go here is that the cost of leads.
Mm,
So, do you decide? And I think the question is, how do you decide based on, this is the average package that we sell maybe in our business? And if you take that cost, then how are you determining what are you willing to pay for leads to tell
gotcha.
you if your ad is dialed in or not?
Gotcha. Good question. So, in a nutshell, I would even settle for a break even. So let's use that example. And this is a bit different. This might be different for a lot of the listeners, especially if they're used to mainly organic. So let's use that example I used earlier. I said I put $500 in, I got 50 leads, 5 sales, and got a 5 times ROI, right? I would be happy. I'm not going to say happy, but I would settle as long as it broke even. If I put $500 in, I got 50 leads and I got one client at $500, I would still be happy with that for a few different reasons. Number one, that $500 program is just the first investment, right?
Right.
Let's say it's an online course thing like I do now. That's not the only course I'm going to sell them, right? But if it's a local fitness business, even better, because if you do a good job, that person should train with you forever, or at least a year. So let's
Mhm.
say they might pay $500 for your first 12-week program, right? But you do a good job, they're going to sign up for the next 12 weeks and the next 12 weeks and the next 12 weeks. And you'll obviously want to know your rates, how long people stay for, but most people's it's at least 9 months. So it's really not even a $500 sale. It's a $1,500 sale, right?
Mm.
And chances are that person's also going to refer a friend as well. So that's one reason why I'll settle for a break even on the front end. But the other reason, let's use that example, $500 in. And I should go back a step as well. What I recommend your initial investment should be is what your initial sell is. So if you're selling a 12-week boot camp for $500, okay, your investment is $500 because you just need one to break even. If you're selling a $500 online course, okay, your investment is $500. You just need one to break even, right? But let's use that $500 in, 50 leads, you only make one sale. Those 49 people that didn't sign up, that doesn't mean they're never going to sign up. It just
Mhm.
means they're not ready right now for numerous reasons. Maybe they've never heard of you before. They just saw your ad. They're like, oh, yeah, this is interesting. I'll put my details in and check it out later. I'm not going to sign up now, but, next year or next month or, whatever it may be. Or maybe they weren't ready. I'm looking at a few different places. Look, I'm going to try this one first. But then they go to that other place. They don't like it. So as long as you're collecting that's the other key part there. It's not just a matter of putting an ad out and seeing who buys. It's not so much about the ROI. That's half the game. It's about building your list. Now, we mentioned earlier, I've got the largest Facebook group in the world, I think, for at least in Australia, if not in the world, for fitness professionals. There's about 15,000 people in there. Now, I don't need to do Facebook ads, right? I can just make a post in that Facebook group or send an email and I'll sell as many courses as I like. But the reason it was able to grow that big is because I've just been, running ads, but getting an ROI, running ads and getting an ROI on these ads. So I'm essentially getting paid to build my list and then I can run on both games there. So that's a bit of a convoluted answer, but the short answer is I'm happy to settle as long as I'm not losing money. I'm happy to settle for a break even because it means that I'm building my list for free. And even that break even is going to be profit as long as that person does one more thing with me there. Does that make
Yeah, I
sense?
love. Oh, it's complete sense. And I just want to kind of restate that, summarize for the listeners. And this is where it helps that you've got somewhat of a track record. So you know that what you're doing works.
Yeah.
You have helped people, whether you have a system or a method or something unique about the way you do it. That always helps. But you've got a track record. So, once you get somebody, or if
Mm,
you've done 10 consults, you turn, at least 40 or 50% of them, which is kind of the average that I would suggest was minimum for trainers who worked on our team. I was like, if we can't sell people who walk in the door to see you, we
mm,
have a problem. We should be getting those people. And yet I also love what you said, and I want to say, dear trainer, that potentially you, dear trainer, right, are so close to it that if it's related to fitness, it's related to fitness gear or a new program, we are all probably most likely to adopt right away.
mm.
And that's only 10 to 15% of the population. Look, we can't get them to do vaccines where they just sit still. How are we getting everybody to exercise, right? So
Yeah.
people do, whether it's because of exercise reluctance or not, 85% of the people will be those people I have every day saying, I've watched your YouTube channel for 2 years, and I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
God, I
Yeah.
have to sit down. Are you kidding me? Like, but it's true. We've got analytical people and they don't react right away. So if you're number one, if you're not following up with people,
Oh, yeah.
nurturing that email list,
Yeah.
or just going live on your Facebook groups and believing there are people lurking there you don't think are listening.
Mm,
So you got to keep talking. I think you said so much gold in there. That was great. But lifetime customer value
mm,
being the last thing I want to point out, and I love that you said, willing to break even. And I had a conversation with my ad manager not long ago, and he said, I've given him numbers that, here's what I want to pay for a lead and here's what I'll pay for a customer.
mm,
And I want to hold you to this. And so if we can't do
mm.
this together, I may be looking for a new ad manager.
Can I
Okay.
can I
So
can I jump in there for a sec? That's important as
yeah,
well for anyone looking to outsource because
yeah,
it's so easy for because if you're not familiar with the numbers and the goals, it's
yeah,
very easy to get ripped off.
yes.
That
Yeah,
person can be like, "Yeah, pay me over here. You're paying at least $1,000, $2,000 a month for someone to run
yeah,
your ads."
yeah,
And they can say, "Yeah, look at all these likes we got you, or look at all these engagement we got you, or all these views we got you." And it's sort of like, yeah, great, but if I'm paying you $2,000 and I'm putting $1,000 in ads, I want $3,000 back in my bank account, or I want X amount of leads coming in because I know that I can close X amount of leads. I think those are important if you're looking to outsource.
yes, so true, and it is a vulnerable place to be. I think there's a couple of vulnerabilities we've revealed here. So I think if you're not doing Facebook ads, to do Facebook ads, and I'm going to pull back out and kind of take that broad view in just a minute. But then there's the, okay, really, I don't want to do this, and this isn't my expertise, and I don't want to be on
Mm,
top of all the changes. We do most likely want to turn it over, many of us. And, you've got to know, is this somebody I know, like, and trust? And what do I need to be asking them?
mm,
What do I need to get every week when I ask for a report to know, are the numbers right? And is
yeah.
this right for me? Okay, so let me pull back out to that maybe 1,000-foot view. So I think if we can just back way up to the basics. First of all, is Facebook still a viable advertising source? There are so many potentially counter ads who would say Facebook is dead. The
Mm.
price keeps going up. Your answer to that.
Yeah, good question. So let me think how to explain this. All right. So let's say my online business, I'm getting leads for about $10. All right. And my course costs $500. So as long as I can close one in 50, it's a no brainer for me to do it. And I know I'll close one in 50. In saying that, when I first started, I used to get leads for $1, right? The biggest mistake I've ever made in my entrepreneurial business journey is not going all in when leads were $1. I still
Mm,
remember those days. It was $1, and I'd be like, yeah, I'll put $10 a day in, I can't put in more than $10 a day. But looking back at it now, like I should have just put a mortgage on my home, and just been like, man, for $1 leads, let me borrow $100,000 from the bank and let me put $100,000 in ads, and here's now my list of 100,000 people. It's the best asset I would have had. So, in a nutshell, yes, they keep going up and up and up. But what you want to look at is it still worth me getting an ROI? At the moment, it is. As long as you're selling something that's about $500, give or take, it's still your best option. Even though it's way more expensive than what it used to be, it's a little bit harder because they're getting stricter on their guidelines on what you can say and what you can't say. So you do need to be mindful and maybe a little bit more vanilla. You can't be as controversial as you need to be, as you used to be. And I think the other important point on that as well is like you've got to do some sort of marketing, right? Whether you do free marketing or paid marketing, you got to do something. And either way you're paying, it just depends whether you're paying with your money or with your time. Now, if you're doing organic stuff, you're paying with your time. If you're doing paid stuff, you're paying with money. The reason I'll always pick the money is sooner or later, you're going to run out of time. Everyone's only
Mhm.
got a limited amount of time in a day, and there's only so much of that time you want to spend on social media, right? So it's going to get to the point where you can't do anymore. Whereas if you've got a good ad running, like you don't need to do anything. The ad's running and you just sit back and you have the leads coming in. So that's my take there. Yes, it's more expensive than it used to be, and it's probably just going to get more and more expensive going on. But if anything, that's more of a reason to jump in right now because it's still the best option right now. And just one other thing I'll add there as well, especially if you run a local face to face business. If you're in the online space, it's quite hard, or it's harder to profit online because there's just so much competition out there. But if you're running like a local fitness business, very few local, I was going to say 0% of local businesses run
Mhm.
really, really good Facebook ads. Right, I've had with the people that I've run ads for. There's 100% success rate with them. So that's my other answer there. If you're online, okay, yes, it's probably still your best option, but it's going to be quite hard and tricky, and it's probably going to cost you a bit of money, either hiring someone to do it for you or learning yourself. If you're face to face, it's an absolute no brainer.
Great tip. Okay, so I'm going to repeat that. I think that was the mic drop of the day, listener. If you missed it, 0% of local businesses are running effective Facebook ads. So, yeah, you can get in under the wire there. Um, and of course, Jono, this is as we do this live. This is not, by the way, going to lose effectiveness. I mean, Facebook, of course, can change listeners, but if you're listening later, Facebook ads are probably going to, in some way, shape, or form, be here because that's why Facebook is here to make money. Just saying. But we're post pandemic. And for people doing in person, face to face type of programs and delivering them, I would say they're in the most pain of anyone in the fitness industry
Mm,
since the pandemic. So, of course, anything that we're going to say is really very much more important. It's like a vaccine practically to them. So,
mm.
do not write in and talk to me about vaccines. Okay. By the way, I didn't just over myself up, but talk about an effective Facebook ad. Do you want to break that down?
Yes, I will give you the perfect formula. And listeners, if you can implement this formula here, you will get leads for, I'm going to even say $5. If you get leads for more than $5, something's going wrong. You'll probably get absolute worst case scenario a 2 times ROI and a whole heap of leads. So I'll break the anatomy down as much as I can here in the next sort of 10 minutes or so. And we'll start front end. So the most important part of a Facebook ad is the photo. All right. We'll get into like the copy a little bit later, but for most people, especially local business, the most important part is the photo. Now, there's a few key things in this photo that work better than anything. The best photo is a group of people smiling and having fun at the end of their workout. We've all seen those shots before, right? Whether it's like, the trainer with the selfie, or it's like the footy team photo, we've all seen those sort of photos before. That's the absolute best. So if you're running a studio or small group training or boot camp or outdoor boot camp, like, that's perfect. Even if you're a one-on-one trainer, try and get a photo like that. Even if you just run one small group training or one session where you have 2 or 3 people in there, that's the photo you want. A group of people at the end of the workout smiling and having fun. And when I say a group, it can't be too many people, because if you see a photo with 20, 30 people in there, it's too intimidating, But if you get that sort of 5, 10 amount of people there, it's perfect. And there's a few key things even with that image there. The most important thing is the smile. You need every single person in that photo smiling. If even one person in that photo looks angry or stern or unapproachable, your ad will flop, right? So everyone needs to be smiling and having fun at the end of the workout. That's the key part there. There's a few other things that are going to ruin your photo. And it's funny, like when we do ads to people, we've got a checklist. People are like, oh, can I use this? I'm like, well, it actually crosses that boundary there. So no. Crosses that boundary there? No. Crosses that boundary there? No. So here are the key no-nos that are going to ruin your photo and your ad. We've already touched on the person not smiling. The other thing is people working out, right? If it looks like exercise, it looks like hard work for most people, right? That's all well and good for us that are trainers, right? We look at something, we're like, oh, that's cool. There's kettlebells and there's battle ropes and there's box jumps, shut up and take my money. But your average person that's not exercising, they look at that, they're like, that's hard work. That's what I got to do to lose weight, Well, that's what I got to do to get fit. Nah, what's the easy option? Where's a diet or a pill or something I can take, right? So what most people, so we don't want to show them the hard work, even though they are going to do it. It's just a hard sell if we show them if we show them something that looks like hard work. What's better is we show them the after effect. Instead of showing them what's going on at the actual session, we show them what happens at the end of hey, if you do this session, because what they're going to see is they're scrolling through their feed, they're going to be like, whoa, what's this? There's a small group of people that look kind of like me. They just look way happier and healthier. What are these people doing? Let me get on what these people are doing. Oh, it's a 12-week boot camp challenge. Yeah, let me inquire into this. If I can look as happy as these people here, I'm going to opt into that, right? So that's the other key thing. You don't want exercise photos. They don't work, not for the general public. That's what people are trying to avoid. They don't want to do the exercise. They want the after effect. So show them the after effect there, right? And on that note there are a few other things I mentioned there that we'll expand on a bit. We don't want the photo to look too professional, right? We want that person scrolling through their feed and we don't want it to look like an ad, because if it looks like an ad, they know it's an ad and they're just going to scroll past, right? We want it to essentially look like just like any other photo in their feed. Not a bad photo. It can't have, fingers in there and a bad angle or whatever, but just like a nice photo. Maybe it's outdoors and there's greenery. Maybe you did a beach session, maybe there's a wall in your studio that's a nice color and you take it there or whatever, but it can't be a professional looking photo. Professional looking photos don't work. We've touched on this time and we've tested this time and time again, where you've just got like a nice photo taken by the trainer after the session with their iPhone versus like a professional photography shot. The less professional one wins all the time, every time. If we keep going back to that thing, we just want people scrolling through their feed. Is this a photo of my friends? Why do my friends look so happy and healthy? Oh no, hold on, this isn't my friends. It's this 12-week boot camp challenge. Oh, let me click here and check it out. All right, that's all you want there. The other thing that's going to kill you is if everyone in the photo is really fit and good looking, right? I get it. It makes for a nice photo. There's all these fit, good looking people. But once again, as a trainer, okay, yeah, I want to get around these other fit people and, beat them or whatever, But your average person, that's going to intimidate. Oh man, you got to look like that to go to this gym or train at this studio or train with this person. Man, no way am I going to keep up with that. I'm not going to do this. Right. So, and it's okay to have, like, you don't want to discriminate and be like, oh, you're too good looking, you get out of the photo, but you want it to be like just a group of people, a standard group of people. Like your ideal person their group of friends, right? But ideally, the key is always happier. You need the big smiles and a little bit healthier, right? You don't want a group of people that don't look happy and healthy, right? You want people scrolling through, oh, great, these people look like me, just a little happier and healthy. Oh, okay, that person's a bit bigger than me. That person's a bit shorter than me. Oh, okay, yeah, cool. Yeah, I think I could fit in there, right? They're the key. So we'll summarize. And an exercise I like to do actually, if you're watching this, actually, wherever you are, just open up Google and just type in probably boot camps. This one, just type in like group boot camp or boot camp workout or something like that, and you'll see a heap of photos come up. And I just want you to go through one by one and identify why it won't work. Either be like, all right, that's too professional, won't work. Too professional, won't work. That's people exercising, won't work. That's people exercising, won't work. That's people that are too fit, won't work. That's people that are too fit, won't work. Nobody's smiling in that photo, won't work. Nobody's smiling in that photo, won't work. And then you just essentially want to take the photo that ticks all of those boxes there. That's the key. And if you don't have that, there's nothing I can do to help you. I can't, like, there's nothing I can do in the targeting, in the copy, in the headline. If you don't have that perfect photo, your ad is not going to work, right? And that's the best marketing you can ever have, is that photo there. And you'll get a few of them, right? Even when you run a Facebook ad, don't just take one photo like that. You might have 4 of them that you test. Maybe one's the footy team photo, maybe one's a selfie, maybe you do it, every day for a week because there'll be slightly different people there, or, one session's inside or one session's outside, or there's just many different variables, right? But just get a whole heap of those photos there, pick your best 4, run those best 4 on the Facebook ad. One of them will go like crazy, if not all of them. And then next time you run the ad, okay, maybe take out a few of the ones that didn't do great and replace a few of the ones that did. But that's the biggest advice. Like, there's obviously way more to it, but if we're just going on that start point, that's what you need to start with. Does that all make sense, Deborah?
Makes total sense. Yep. And again, I think it comes back to, if you're already on Instagram and Facebook and you're posting places, you probably have you've let your fans vote already. I mean, look back. What have been your most popular posts? Instagram is a pictorial image, and they're drawn to the photo first. So it doesn't really matter what your copy is in that fantastic message you got really thoughtful about. They voted for the photos that moved them. So I think you can look back, and in a way, you could have also say, I've been doing organic testing. Now I
Yes.
know what photos my audience loves and responds to. So I think that's valuable. You agree?
Awesome. Now that I'll keep the other parts shorter. I wanted to spend the most time on the photo because it's the most important,
Yeah.
and the other parts are actually a lot easier. You've then got your headline, so that bit that comes in a Facebook ad, it's down the bottom, right? You've got your photo, and then you've got your headline underneath that. The most important thing in that headline is to mention the suburb, right? That's what's going to get people's attention. First, the photo will, because it's like, oh, what's this? There's a whole group of people that look just like me, just a little bit happier and healthier. What are these people doing? Then they'll read the headline, which will say the suburb that you're in. And with a Facebook ad, we'll speak about targeting a bit later, but you want to keep the distance in a local business, the distance really short. The shorter, the better. And we'll speak about that later. But ideally, that person scrolling through and they see that photo and then they see that headline with the name of their suburb in there, they're in. It doesn't. We'll speak about the copy bit in a sec, but it doesn't even matter what you put in the copy so much. If you can have that perfect photo, right, and then you've got the headline with the suburb there, your person will opt in, and ideally your perfect person as well, because the photo is what they're going to self-identify with. Let's say, for example, you're running a program for older adults, right? The photo is going to be of your clients who are all older adults. So the only people that are going to opt in are going to be older adults. Let's say you run a program for women, great. The only people in that photo are going to be women. You'll obviously put the targeting as well, but the only people in there will be women. The people that are going to opt in are going to be women there, right? So the headline, you can have whatever, and it's going to be something like, attention, I live in a suburb called Cogra. Right, attention Cogra locals, or 12-week challenge Cogra location, or Cogra women, have you seen this? Something with the name of the local business in there, put it in there. I'll move on from there because the headline's the easy part, right? The photo, the headline. With the copy, The easiest thing here in a local business is just to keep it simple. There's a few tips that are going to work. The first one is challenge. For whatever reason, people love challenges. No matter whereabouts in the world you are, challenges. If you and we've tested this with different things as well. All right, because there can be among trainers a negative connotation with the word challenge because there's so many crap ones out there, right? But a challenge is just people exercising. All right. If you let's say you're running a 6 week challenge, that can simply just be, hey, you're signing up to my program for 6 weeks, and committing to train twice a week for 6 weeks or 3 times a week for 6 weeks. That's all your challenge needs to be, right? And we've tested it with different words, like, hey, here's my 6 week program. Here's my 6 week body reset. Here's my 6 week, whatever other words we've tried there. That word challenge just works better than anything else. In terms of length, we recommend 6 to 12 weeks, more for the financial side of things than anything. Because let's say you did an ad and it was a 21-day challenge. It's great, but how much can you charge for a 21-day challenge? It's sort of, and it's not going to get the most engaged people in there as well, But if you run something for like a 6 to 12 week challenge, the only people are going to acquire are people that are interested in training for 6 to 12 weeks. And then you've got enough time to also, convert them into a long-term client as well. So you want to have the word challenge in there. Also urgency, right? The other reason why challenges work so well is because you can put a date there, and you can be a bit sneaky with this because you can run in every ad, every 2 weeks, every month or whatever. But let's just simplify it. It would look something like this, so 12. So let's just say 12-week challenge kicks off 8th of August. Cogra location, right? Click below to learn more. Something as simple as that. Right, we don't want to overcomplicate it. The key things in there are making it a challenge, mentioning the word challenge, having a start date there for urgency purposes. So if someone, let's go through that situation again, right? Someone sees the photo. Oh man, these people look just like me, just happier and healthier. They read the headline. Oh, Cogra, that's where I live. What is this? Let me read up here. 12-week challenge. That's exactly what I need. Kicks off the 8th of August. Well, it's the 6th of August today. I better inquire in this and sign up now because I'm gonna have to wait another 6 weeks if I don't do it. And this is the only one I've ever seen in this suburb with these people here that look healthy and approachable. What do I do? Well, click up below to learn more. Okay, let me click below. Let me enter my details. Right? That's the formula there. If you do that, you will get $5 leads. If you can perfect those things there, the photo, the headline, the copy with those things there, you'll get $5 leads. That's all you need from the front end. Can we spend about 4 or 5 minutes on the back end, Deborah? Just because there's some important stuff I'd like to cover there as well.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So that front end is fine. Let's talk about the back end now. Now, the let me think of where to start. Okay. So the ad you want to use is a lead generator ad. Okay. There's a few different reasons why, but at its most simple level, it's the one that's going to get you the most leads. Right? We don't really care about video views or page likes or, engagement, and that's going to happen anyway if you have a good ad, right? What we ideally want to tell Facebook is just show it to these people that, are most likely to be leads. We want to get as many leads as possible. The other reason why that's so powerful is if you use the lead generation strategy, you don't need a website, you don't need a landing page. It's all done organically on Facebook. If someone presses learn more, a little box will pop up within Facebook, right? And you can choose the questions you ask. It's probably just going to be name, phone number, email for this situation here. They enter their details, you shoot them off an email. After they've entered in their details, then you can, send them to your website or whatever it may be. But the reason why this is so important, there's a few different things. Historically, it was good because Facebook, like any platform, wants people to stay on Facebook. So if you're running a Facebook ad and you're saying, hey, send them out of Facebook, Facebook's always going to prioritize the people that are keeping them in Facebook. Also, from the user side of things, they're on Facebook. I don't know if they trust Facebook, but it's sort of like, how bad can it be on Facebook? So if a little box pops up, it's like, it's part of Facebook. How bad can it be? Whereas if you're taking them off Facebook, there's a bit of a break there. It's like, oh man, I'm going to this different website. Do I trust this person here? I'm not sure if I'm going to do it. Right? That was historically, and there's still a little bit of that today. But the major reason why this works today is the biggest changes that have occurred in Facebook is the privacy things, right? Where it's now a lot harder to do conversion tracking, right? You now need to verify your website. If you're using landing pages, it's super, or it's, not, it's a lot harder to do. So now, if you're running like conversions ads or sending people off Facebook, it's a lot harder. The tracking isn't going to be as good. There's extra hoops you have to run through. If you use the lead generation strategy, nothing changed, right? This is a strategy I've been using. I haven't changed it not one bit. With all these Facebook changes that have happened, the verifications, the privacy things, because I use the lead generation option, I haven't had to change anything. So that's why I recommend that one. And also, most fitness professionals don't have the best website or don't have a sales optimized website. So it's just easier to start off with it in Facebook. Someone enters their details in, you got a phone number, you've got an email. They can go to your website after that anyway, but it's just a lot easier to sell if you've got that phone number and that email there. So we want that option there. And then we'll just spend a minute or two on the targeting as well. If you're running a local business, you don't need to worry about the interests, right? If you're running an online business, it's pretty much all interests, but we're speaking about face-to-face here. So don't worry about the interest. Don't get specific in there and say, hey, I just want to target, people that like fitness or, people that like bodybuilding or whatever. Like, you want to keep that open. There's only three variables that you're going to focus on, which is essentially the distance, the age, and the gender. The most important of that is the distance. And this is important. And this is the other common mistake most people make. When we're talking about a Facebook ad to a cold audience, the shorter the distance, the better. Right. And I can't give you an exact number because it depends on the density of your location, but I'll use myself as an example. So I live in the middle of Sydney, right? If I'm running a Facebook ad for myself, it's a 3 kilometer duration if I'm running a local boot camp, right? Now, and in saying that, people travel further to train with me. They might travel 5 kilometers, maybe even 6 kilometers in Sydney. You use miles over there. And let's just replace miles I'm going to use kilometers because I'm Australian, but just replace it with miles. It's not going to be too different, right? So anyway, right? Like, even though there's people that will travel 4, 5, 6 kilometers to train with me, they wouldn't click it off a Facebook ad. It's too far off a Facebook ad. So when you're running that Facebook ad to a cold audience, you just want it to go to the people that think it's an absolute no-brainer. That's in my suburb. That's in the next suburb. I'm going to click there and go. Even though there are people that will travel further, they're more your referrals, people that already know you, people that maybe train with you, previous place, maybe some organic stuff that you're doing. That's those people there. But if you're running a Facebook ad, you want it to be an absolute no-brainer. It's usually the shorter, the better. I can't give an exact number because it just depends on density, but I'll give you some indications. So if you're in like a really busy city, it's 3 kilometers max, and even use the amount of people. If you're targeting more than 100,000 people, right, it's too big. Okay, so if you've run an ad and you've got it at 5 kilometers and it's targeting 150,000 people, rein it in. Okay. In saying that, you could live in the middle of nowhere. I ran an ad for a lady in New Zealand, and she got $1 leads actually. New Zealand leads are cheaper, and also the more sort of rural or regional area you live in, it's cheaper as well. But anyway, she ran hers at about 15 kilometers, and it still only hit about 20,000 people, right? So I can't give you an exact number, but just if you're thinking of it, it's got to be a no-brainer. Right? It's got to be something where it's a no-brainer for that person to train in, and it's going to be a smaller radius than what you currently train in. If you're like, hey, I've got people that come, this far away, great. They might, if they already know you or they're a referral or it's word of mouth, but it's different for a Facebook ad. If we had to approximate it, it's usually somewhere between about 3 to 10 kilometers. And the busier you are, the more it's going to be down in the 3. The less sort of busy area you are, the more it's going to be in the 10. I have no idea what a kilometer is to a mile, but it's probably give or take similar, or just do a Google search anyway. So that's the distance. The gender. So obviously there's a lot of people that just train women. If that's the case, all right, you just hit the women button. Even if you train both, it can be an advantage on your Facebook ad just to target women, because women are more likely to opt into the Facebook ad and they're more likely to buy as well. So, and just we can even just use an example there. Let's just say you put $100 on Facebook ads and you target men and women. All right, you might get leads for $10. But let's say you just targeted women. So in that case, you might get 10 leads. But let's say you targeted just women, you may get leads for $5, and now you've got 20 leads. So even though you train both, it may be better for the cold Facebook ad. You just target women, and then the guys will come organically. They're your friends, or they're the partners of the people there, or referrals, or word of mouth, or whatever it may be. But if it's ads, we want to maximize the bang for our buck, right? So so it can be an advantage just to target women there. No, we won't go. No, we won't go any deeper on the gender. We'll leave it at that to simplify. Now, the age is an interesting one as well, right? Because you don't want to narrow the age too much, because a lot of people have the perfect avatar, right? Hey, I train, women from 30 to 35, that's great. And it's good. You should have that. But on a Facebook ad, you want to be a little bit more liberal with the age for a few different reasons. Number one, it's not so much your specific person that you're targeting here. It's more like, let me put a wide net out, and that specific person will come in there. And also the photo does a bit of self-identifying anyway with that side of things there. But also a lot of people lie on their age on Facebook.
Yeah. Like that's what I was going to say.
I think I sent my friend a happy birthday message yesterday, and he's 99 years old on his Facebook thing, So you don't want to be... Think of it more like this as well, right? You've got two sort of options. You can just leave it open and just be like, right, I'm going to let the Facebook algorithm do its work and just, target the people there in the photo a little bit. But what I like to look at is like, all right, what's the youngest person I would possibly train and the oldest person I would possibly train? All right. Let's say you're running, a high intensity, boot camp, with a lot of jumps and burpees and sprints and that sort of thing. You're like, you know what? Like, I wouldn't turn anyone down, but like, I feel like 99% of people over whatever it is, 60 wouldn't be a good fit here. So I'm going to cap it off at 50, at 60. All right. Let's go the other way. Let's say you're running a thing targeted more for older adults, and most of your clients are, I don't know, whatever it is, 55, 60 plus. And you're like, oh, look, I do train all people, but most people are there. But you might be like, you know what? A 25-year-old, they just wouldn't fit in here, or even anyone under 30 just wouldn't fit in, So I'll cut it there. So it's not so much, the perfect avatar for the age. It's more just about what's the oldest person you'd possibly train, what's the youngest person you'd possibly train. That's what you plug in there. That's that's the most part of the back end there. I think if you can do that front end stuff well, you set the ad up like that in the back end, you're going to have a good success rate.
Love it. Such gold right here. So really love it. I want to, although, we talked about a hard stop, and I want to respect your time. Do you have a hard stop, Jono?
I do. 5 minutes. I've actually got another podcast. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you to answer this really quickly then. My question is this. So we're clearly, and I don't want to let this whole thing go without addressing the moment we're in. So we're talking about the formula and the pieces of the photo and the copy and the headline, and how to target and do things behind the scenes and choose the kind of ad. All very important for someone whose eyes are going to be back there for the first time. But there is also this elephant in the room. So when we're right now in this moment, and who knows, this may be for the next 6 months, we may see a resurge and things change again in our ads. So literally the content. What are your thoughts about the message that we're giving people? Would you play into, this is post-pandemic, and you haven't actually mentioned copy beyond the challenge and the urgency and giving, just here's when it is and where it is, so click here. But is there an appropriate time or place where you would say creating an ad that actually helps you address the reason people aren't coming in to meet with you?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So,
Go.
okay, so a couple things there. So, in a nutshell, the major goal of that Facebook ad is just the attention side, just that first side of it. So how
Yep.
can we get as much leads as possible? Once someone's in the door, that's when we use some of this. And when I say in the door, just a lead, right? So in the ad, I would still just keep that formula because you're going to get the cheapest possible. I shouldn't say the cheapest. Like you're going to get the most leads possible for your money, and you're going to get the most people opting in for that specific ad. So I wouldn't change that ad. Like, because if you do change it, you're just going to get
Mhm.
worse results, right? So it's
Mhm.
like, all right, let's just run with this formula. Let's get people in the door. We know that 90% of them aren't going to sign up anyway. But now that they're in our list or now that they follow us on social media, now here we go. Now we can use some of that messaging there. So I wouldn't use that on the front end Facebook ad. I would just use this system that works all the time, every time. But I would use that more organically now. Great. Now I've got, all these people that opted in and didn't sign up. How can I convert these people to leads? That's when I would get a bit fancier with the copy.
Jono, thank you so much. So, really quick, where can listeners find more Jono?
Yes, so I'm pretty active on social media. The best place is our Facebook group, the Fitness Education Online Community. I would love to have you in there. Or you can just check out our website. Just jump on Google Fitness Education Online, and we'll be the first people that come up.
Thank you so much for joining me. This was full of gold. And listeners, you will find all the gold at the show notes at fitnessmarketingmastery.com/FB ads. What are you waiting for? The world needs us right now more than ever.